Here we are.
There we go. Ooh, I have not seen the final version of this. This got even prettier from when last time I saw it. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
I also just noticed the beetle constellation in the sky and the leaf.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
I'm assuming the snake
amazing.
is somewhere,
yeah.
but yeah.
It's really a weird feeling to have to be here not alone. As anybody who's played Myst kind of probably feels the same way. Really cool, because I think we all like share our adventure from way back. We played Myst and told people, you know, what they were doing and sat in front of the screen together. But to actually like be here with other people chatting is really cool. I think it's awesome. Yeah. Yep.
Agreed.
Hannah rocking it.
I don't know about that.
I was a mess yesterday. We'll see how this goes. Oh, wait. Now you gotta...
Oh. You're playing the other one.
Yeah, that's the trick.
I gotta reprogram my brain.
Catch.
They did a really nice job adding some shortcuts in places where they needed to. I think they were wary, especially right here where they had to bust through the mountain. They were like, "Is it okay if we put a tunnel here?" And we were like, "Well, yeah, it's your game. Modify it. It's fine." We were kind of fun to see somebody else's take on it.
It's actually fun when they did their take on it because we get a surprise that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were already playing this game just as fans, as, you know, like customers. So when they reached out to us, it wasn't like, who are these people? It was like, oh, it's the Walkabout people. You know, we knew who they were. We knew the game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was kind of fun. So these buttons can have 2 states on this course. That is dirty.
Yeah. Mess with us. Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, we know those.
Clearly.
Clearly a incredibly planned shot.
We haven't made any official statement about that yet, but what we have said so far is there clearly is a pattern with the way that we're releasing our games and remakes, and hope that folks won't be disappointed. How's that?
Lucas tried yesterday too, and I think the answer we gave was like, yeah, if you were satisfied with the Myst remake, you'll likely be satisfied with what we're doing with Riven. So about all we can say at this point.
We're small and indie, and so it's really interesting because we can take a much smaller like market and actually make it work for us. And that's how it's been over time. Like even when we released some of the kids games we did, like for hard drive, like we did the manhole on floppies, but we also created a version for hard drives only. You had to have a hard drive to install it. Nobody had hard drives, and we were like, well, there's probably enough people who have them, and if there's enough, we can sell enough to justify it. And it was by far our best selling. Because the early adopters they're looking for stuff, and it's exciting. It's motivating in both directions. Like the new technology is motivating for us as a small studio, and it's additional content for even though it seems small for a big company market share wise, it's enough to pay our bills, if that makes sense. So kind of, yeah, and it happens time and time again. We switch to color, we switch to CD-ROMs, we switch to DVD, we switch to real-time 3D, and as long as we also tried doing online broadband, and that maybe we did a little early and it didn't work, but as long as you can get the timing right, it feels like, you know, we're in a good spot to take advantage of it. And it's exciting for us. I mean, we love it, yeah. If that makes sense.
Well said.
From a design and creation perspective, it's something that if there wasn't new technology and on a regular basis, that was nice. It's hard to stay motivated. It's kind of invigorating to see the new stuff and see what that means for us. The stuff that's hard about VR is having these things on our head. It's not that it is by far the most immersive, amazing technology that you know, that we've seen. That was nice. But you know that we know that what happens with technology, it gets smaller and better and more convenient and easier and all those things. So we're willing to put up with a little bit of this now, knowing that later that's gonna change. Whew, that hurt.
Ooh, tough beat.
This is not gonna be my hole here, I can tell already.
Oh.
Nope.
I'll probably have different answers than Eric and Hannah on this. You should get their opinion too. You have to plan. Well, this is going to sound weird, but not plan, but don't assume that everything you do is going to, just like that, is going to succeed. So, you know, plan for fallbacks, and don't think that just because it didn't work means that you failed. You've learned something from it. You know, try again if you've got it in you. I mean, a few times, if people knew how many disasters we had over the years, oh my gosh, it's, you know, it's a wonder we're still here. So, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good shot.
Just,
yeah, that was similar to what I was going to say. Actually, it's funny. It's you know, the failure is always an option, and also failure is the best teacher sort of thing. I feel like the place where we're at now as developers, we got there by falling on our face over and over again and learning the hard way. And I think that that's a valid. I mean, the School of Hard Knocks is a really good university to go to as a game developer. It's, I don't know, Hannah, I don't know if we haven't really talked about it in detail, but like, I think about some of the stuff we went through on abduction and some of the hard lessons we learned and how it positioned us now to succeed at some of the stuff we weren't as successful at back then because we didn't know any better and all that. But I could see how people just getting started out, to Rand's point, would get discouraged and not keep pushing forward or think that like, oh, this is a dead end. It's like, no, you can learn from those mistakes and make good stuff out of your next attempt.
I don't know if I have anything valuable to add to both of those. Those are great answers. We'll say that like Quest has completely changed the ecosystem for VR developers in many ways. And making it more accessible to an audience as well. You don't need a PC to play VR anymore. And it's not Google Cardboard either. It's like its own standalone device. It's made developing for VR probably more accessible than it ever has been. So I think that's why we've kind of seen this resurgence of, you know, new studios and studios coming back even, developing for VR in the last 2 to 3 years versus that 2017 to 2018 period, like you noticed.
doesn't necessarily make it easier, but it makes it more accessible.
It's more accessible for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think yesterday we were talking with Lucas, and he said any advice for new game developers. He didn't make it VR specific, and I think our answer was like, don't jump into VR first, like get your bearings with regular game dev first, because VR adds so many complications on top that you want to make sure you have the fundamentals down first.
I don't think that's something we could answer right now, but I will say that when we were approaching release for Quest, considering it was such a new ecosystem and Quest 2 had just come out, like we had basically no information on how it was going to do on Quest, and I told Rand I would eat my shoe if it did well on Quest. Again, because we had no information, it was a new ecosystem, and it did well. So I owe Rand an eaten shoe.
That's right. I'm waiting for that.
Oh, I just realized that do you not have to hit all of them? It just opens one of the lobes in the middle. I just realized that.
Oh man!
Oh.
Smart.
Somebody's alert.
Well, after I wasted 3 shots trying to hit
It was totally new territory for us in that aspect, especially since it was VR only. So we weren't sure how it was going to do, but it did well.
I mean, and to a certain extent, we followed a little bit of, well, to the best of our abilities, a little bit of our past history. It's like, okay, are we on the edge enough where we can take advantage of this? And I guess my opinion was, yeah, I think we are. I think you know, the Quest 2 is enough of a platform where I think we'll be able to take advantage of it. So from my point of view, it was like, yeah, I think it's time, but it's always risky. It's always risky. Yeah, and we're crazy. We're just kind of crazy that way.
That too. We're crazy.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I don't know,
Man,
because we've only ever,
yeah.
like, you know, directly worked with not Zuckerberg. And the people we've directly worked with at Meta are all great and smart and incredible at their jobs. So I'm
That's
sure
great.
they had a big part in it too, but you know, it does help that for multiple years in a row, Zuckerberg did get on stage at the main, you know, Meta conference to kind of promote the new features and stuff. So certainly he gets credit, but I got to give big props to the people at the Meta team too, who just work their butts off every day.
Yeah, I have to give him, you know, I'm not even a Facebook guy. I don't go on there. But when people with a lot of money determine they want something to work and they put a lot of money into it and it kind of benefits us, I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. You're pushing something forward that I don't know who else does that. You know, who else could do it unless you've got deep pockets and you're convinced.
Yeah.
So I still, you know, still don't know if he's right or not, but it's worked to our benefit and it's pushed the entire VR ecosystem forward. And so for that, it's like, well, kudos be to him for that. Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I don't think you can credit him with the technology necessarily being where it's at, because I think that you know, the group of people that sort of revitalized that effort right around the time when just before we started doing abduction, like that, they're the ones to thank for this. But the fact that it's as mainstream as it is now, the fact that this many people have affordable headsets, like undoubtedly that was Meta then Facebook, but that was Meta's doing. I don't think we would be standing here having this conversation in a game this popular if it hadn't been for them paving that lane, you know.
Yeah, there's no way. That, I mean, we all know what the barrier of entry used to be for VR. You had to have a PC, usually in your living room, making a lot of noise and a big fan, and every time I'd open it up, it wants an update. It's like, you know, the average person is just not going to fight those battles. And then the cables on top of that, it was the physical mess that you had to deal with cables and setting up everything. And so, I mean, when the Quest 2 came out, at the price point it came out, it was like, okay, well, these, I can give these as gifts now. You know, it's like people can get into VR with such a low barrier to entry. You know, I don't know that we've had any, you know, giant sellout offers over the years. We've had people who wanted pieces of the action and didn't understand that, you know, the creative part of this was more important than the money at some level. I mean, we want to make a living, but we also like having our own control of stuff. But from a company point of view, I'm not sure we're against some kind of, you know, selling the company if it keeps doing what it kind of made to do. You know, it's enabling, I guess, in some ways. We've just been able to do it ourselves, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's not without its. Yeah, this one is fundamentally hard.
We don't have anyone required to be in except for our IT guy when things explode, maybe figuratively and literally. And
or
just whenever we test on consoles, we have to keep the consoles at the office, but that's pretty much it. We have moved to be that way since the start of the pandemic. We were previously entirely office-based, and the pandemic kind of forced us to start thinking in remote terms, obviously, and we've never gone back. It's been pretty refreshing, so. it's certainly different for each company, but I would say we are not that kind of company, especially nowadays. Like, if I need to be physically present to know what you're doing, something's probably wrong. So, oh crap.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting transition for us, pandemic wise. Ah, crap. Oh, nope. At least it'll be an easier shot. A few of us, like Hannah and myself, were both very used to working remotely due to some of the contract work we had been doing previously. But I think the company as a whole, it was sort of a new concept to do it remotely. And I would say, how long did that transition take? Like, to get the servers up and everything running? Not super long.
Thankfully, we had started thinking about it prior to the pandemic, because we did want to transition to that sort of thing before. But I would say once the pandemic hit, it took like a week, because we had already started getting the ball rolling.
We just came in to have a meeting. It was actually with my brother Robin and Richard Vanderway. Which is kind of fun.
Hannah was all about supporting hand tracking. I think I had to see it to really get convinced. And seeing it working was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a good time implementing it. Me and one of our senior engineers, Carl Johnson, almost solely worked on that for a bit, and gosh, it was challenging, but cool to be able to support another method of input in the game. Hopefully it makes the game more accessible to people in general.
It's one of those things that again is exciting about like a new platform, is it feels like you get to be part of defining it a little bit. You know, you may not get it right, but you get to contribute to something that pushes it forward.
Rand, I was reminiscing with someone recently about how you were on stage with Steve Jobs and were showing Riven off, and that was when you took the maglev from Temple Island to Jungle Island, and the CD prompt didn't come up, and you were like, oh yeah, by the way, this is the DVD version, and the whole crowd like erupts in applause and cheering, and it's like, oh my gosh. It's so cool that you've had so many of those moments throughout your career.
Yeah, that was fun. And it's the same thing. I mean, it's like what Ian asked when we got to the dock, like, what's it like to stand here with, you know, with other people on Myst Island? And it's one of those very interesting kind of feels. Yeah. Like, it feels like the meter switches occasionally with technology to a new thing, and when you get to take advantage of it, it's really cool. Even seeing Myst in VR for the first time was just epic, you know, just whoa, you know.
I think I still have that very first build for Quest too, where we only had like half of the island visible.
Yep. I still
I'll
remember
have to pull that up sometime.
One of the early things we did, Ian, was we built kind of a test of the library area, like the library of Myst all the way back to the tower elevator. But we made it so that and then we in our basement at Cyan, we actually opened it up where it was almost big enough that you could walk from end to end without hitting the wall. So it was like a real space adventure, which was very cool. I mean, that was amazing to me.
We maxed out the play area for the Quest 1. It was like 15 by 15, and we even maxed it out.
Yeah, rather than having to teleport, you actually could walk over and around and up, and you know, it felt so interesting when we were building the Quest version. I mean, because even versions that came earlier but required a cable didn't let you know, have a full experience without teleporting. So having it in a large room without any cables attachment, you could walk around and just go from wall to wall in the library in real space. And it was it was so
Nice.
interesting to do that. Yeah, I thought that was, not everybody can do that, but it was a real invigorating aspect of VR to have that aspect of it, just walking.
I remember the first time that we got early test of Myst for VR running at all, and it was just such a weird feeling to stand. I think it was the plaza in front of the library. We did that early test, and standing there with the VR headset on Myst Island for the first time. I mean, I know what it felt like for myself. I can only imagine, Rand, what it must have felt like for you to finally be standing there in that place.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Memorable.
It's
Yeah.
just crazy. It's hard having an indie with just my brother and I playing kids things, and we have some success, and then we have publishers who don't pay us, and we have all the problems that you have. But having the opportunity to do Myst kind of set us on a course then that allows us to, it's like this perfect property to be reimagined at every stage. It's given us this great opportunity to do this. I mean, how could we possibly have imagined when we did Myst that we'd be here in the future with headsets on, playing miniature golf on Myst Island, in full 3D VR, chatting across, the world. I mean, that's just, it's lent itself to that so nicely, where we get to experiment and given us the opportunity to do that, which is, I mean, I can't think of a better way for me to make a living. I can't believe I've got to do this for this many years as well.
What's the puzzle in Myst that people have had the most trouble with?
Oh,
this is all you,
by
Rand.
far, this is the maze runner is what people hate and what they complain about, and what I tell them, it's their fault, not our fault. This is the ongoing debate. We have kind of this credo at work during design, that if we make things, if we design things and design puzzles that in the end, even if they're hard, once they're solved, the player says, oh, that was my fault. I should have seen that. I should have gotten that. I should have understood that. We've done our job. If at the end of it, even if it's easy at the end of it, and they go, well, how was I supposed to see that? That's, no, that's, then we haven't done our job. So that's one that, as much as people like to complain about it, when they do, I like to point out that, wait a minute, you just did a bunch of sound related things to get down in this sound related world, and you got in a vehicle and you didn't listen to the sounds or pay attention to the sounds. So, that I tell them that's on them at that point. So
I love that perspective. Yeah, and as I've talked to my coworkers who are reviewing games, and there is that sort of flip side where you can cross over into it feeling tedious rather than satisfying after you actually solve it.
Yes. And we don't do it perfect every time, but of all the ones that kind of get to me, that's the one I like to, that's the one I give people flack about if they complain about it.
If you've got Myst, you're in Myst, what would be your dream courses? Was it Hannah said Lord of the Rings, right?
Lord of the Rings, yeah. I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
We're still trying to figure out how to convince the Mighty Coconut team to do a Riven course for us. We're hoping that comes to fruition. I would love to see what they would do with that. Oh, that was terrible.
You can't have the Riven course in Mighty Coconut before it's in VR, can you?
No.
Fair point.
That would be tough.
Nice try. Ooh, good shot though.
Have you played Acron, Eric, with your kid?
I have not.
That's fun. That's
Acron.
a fun.
What is it? I'm completely unfamiliar
really
with that.
cool.
Resolution.
Such a great idea.
Yeah, Resolution Games, I think, made it, and one person is a tree in VR, and they've got acorns in front of them, or acorns that little squirrels try to grab and steal from the tree, and the squirrels are operated by people using phones, just using their thumbs to navigate the squirrels across the field, and the person in VR has to protect their acorns.
Such a cool way to do a co-op game with VR, where you have one person in VR and the rest of the people on the sofa with their phones or something.
I'm such a big fan of any kind of asymmetric multiplayer like that. I mean, even regardless of medium, even if it was like a console and PC or something like that, but like to do that with a VR component is very, very interesting.
Yep.
I think a lot about the effort for Horizon Worlds, and you know, it's still, they've got like visual scripting and stuff in there, and I've tried to learn to code over the years. You know, I took Visual Basic in high school, and I popped open Unity a couple times to try to teach myself. The learning curve is so high, and people have other things to do, but like, I'm convinced that most people are game makers, right? They're like, at their heart, you've got your house rules in every game, and backyard games you come up with your friends. I always wonder if we'll see the kind of puzzle making that you make for a game like Myst be done by people who don't need to know how to code.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I bet we are. Yeah, I sure hope so. Anyway, I hope. I think back to like college days when I was, you know, HTML was relatively new, and I was learning HTML, and the first thing I did was make a terrible Myst-like, you know, with badly rendered 3D. I would love for VR, like the metaverse stuff, to open up an opportunity for people to go in there and actually make their own puzzles, their own stories and stuff.
So Myst, I mean, I'll say this from, you know, blast from the past kind of stuff, but HyperCard did that to a very small extent because it wasn't real-time 3D, but it was really amazing to us to see, after we released some of our kids games, to see so many kids building their own worlds, because you could draw a card and then put a button on it that said link me to a different card, and they would make worlds with puzzles, and it was just approachable and easy, and it was, granted, you know, not real-time 3D, so it was much less sophisticated, but it's still really I think if I'm reading you right, it's like, man, that would be very amazing to have that in real-time 3D. You know, just being able to put things together and build worlds and make puzzles and arrange things. And
so Among Us has been recreated in all of the social worlds. So Rec Room and I think VR Chat both have like Among Us worlds that people have gone and recreated in those things. And then with my kids, you know, we got addicted to that game for a good 6 months, and you know, I taught my kids a lot of deception very young. I felt bad about that. But we actually built a physical version of Among Us in each of the rooms of our house, where like you had to go to a wall and actually do little tasks, and you could tap a person on the shoulder to get them out of the game. And I don't know, I can't be alone in that game making sort of mentality, right? There's a lot of people like me that just don't have the patience or the time to learn coding who love making games. The lighting that you guys did in your version of Myst, I have very crisp memories of just staring at these boxes with how amazing you guys made them. And then there's this completely different artistic delivery version of the same core idea. And then you can have much even lower poly, less well-lit worlds. People spend so much energy complaining about these platforms and not seeing the larger goal.
I guess you get numb to the critiques after a while because it's so easy to critique and it's so hard to do this. I'm sure filmmakers do the same thing, but man, yeah, you've got to be a little bit, you've got to build up some amount of resistance for the naysayers. But
whenever I see salty comments online, you know, I don't say it, but the first thing in my head is like, I can't wait to play your game, you know, Rando 429 YouTube comment. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to make this stuff.
It is kind of the ultimate critique, right? Like that's, you know, at least I did something.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it's not that we also want to learn from the real critiques. You know, there's the easy ones that are just the easy, you know, whatever, just backhands to your face. But then there's ones that you can do that are more post-mortem, both from people involved and people not involved. I have been terrible, I have got to say. I'm going to blame it on playing on the Quest 1.
You're on the Quest 1?
Yeah. Yep. My wife
Which
and I
by
we
itself
have a Quest 2 and a Quest 1. She gets the
nice.
Quest 2. I'm kind of relegated to the Quest 1.
To me, that's a testament to the Mighty Coconut team and the fact that they have this thing running so well on a Quest 1 even, that Rand's just like, yep, just on my Quest 1 playing golf. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you restrict Myst to Quest 2?
No, it's Quest 1 and 2, and continues to be.
But there was some hard, you know, there's some hard limits with the Quest 1. It's a great piece of hardware, but you know, some things you gotta make concessions for. Wait, do I go up the hill and hope it comes back down? I think I'm gonna try that. We'll see.
Oh, good thought. Nice.
Nope.
I liked your plan.
I think I'll ask you again, how big do you think VR is going to get?
Oh, wow. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's got a few gating factors, and I think the first one was getting rid of cables, which we've done. I think, you know, at least we've crossed that bridge. Still have, now we've got to get much better quality with out cables. But the other gating factor is just comfort and size of the headsets, and those are harder. Those just take really hard engineering problems. It's not just a software problem. It's lots of crazy engineering to do that. But I honestly, I wonder, you know, what AR means to all this as well. Like, is VR just a transitional form of this, you know, because when true AR, you could either augment what's around you, or you can black out everything and play VR stuff as well. So, you know, that kind of, it all goes away once AR solves all those problems too.
So I love that framing, and I talked to Michael Abrash, the head sort of researcher, the one who's directing all the research for Meta and was formerly at Valve, and that was one of the core questions I put to him was, are we going to have both? Can you explain to me? And his comment was, I think we're going to have both headsets for a very long time, and he gave the reasons as you've got field of view advantage, you've got the ability when you're sort of at home with a VR headset, you can use the infrastructure that's local to you, so your PC or whatever, you've got all those benefits. So the idea is that we're going to have both these headsets for years, and the way I tried to frame it to him was like, what is VR for indoor and AR for outdoor? And the way he reframed it back at me was, VR is the personal computer and AR is the phone. That's why I wanted to get into it with you, having, you know, the decades you have seeing this evolution is, I mean, I've done amazing things with both my PC and my phone over the years, and they both served completely different purposes to me. But like, it's hard to know, right, how big VR is going to be able to get in the next 5 years. It's hard to know how many millions of people and how quickly I'm going to be able to convince them to go out and get a headset and join me in this.
The Quest 2's price point helped that a lot. I mean, it's just easy, but it's still, there's still some overcoming you've got to do. I love the PC and phone analogy. It's intriguing to me, but it's also, it doesn't seem perfect because we're starting to be able to link those two things. It means that, it's like if I tether my headset to my PC, I get to play like really high-end, games in a really, with that, still with no cables or anything. So does that mean that, if I get a AR headset, I can use it? I mean, there's still some technical challenges, but it feels like I could use that outside on my way to serve a good purpose that my phone would work for. But when I get home, it links with my computer, and I get suddenly a more enriched view of things. And I'm looking way forward, where we've solved some of the tech issues with AR as well that are going to be challenging.
I've talked to Jeri Ellsworth. Jeri runs Tilt5, the tabletop AR company, and she has like a very... She has the field of view comparable to the VR headsets, but you're able to look through the lenses directly at the people around the table with you. It's a very good product for what it is. You're only going to get the AR effect over this tabletop where they've got this reflective material on the table to reflect back the AR view. She was originally at Valve and got fired from Valve, and while she was getting fired, she basically asked to buy the technology, and Gabe Newell agreed to let her take the technology. She took the technology, started a company, they went on Kickstarter, raised a lot on Kickstarter, but tried to put in too many features into their AR headset. And then they took investors on, and the investment ran out of money, started pointing everything in a different direction. The company went out of business, and she more or less bought it again, bought all the technology and launched it as a second or third company. And now the product she has today is this third or fourth iteration, depending how you look at it, of this AR technology. And when I talked to her about this same thing of which is going to be bigger, AR or VR, she talks about the mixed reality that we have here. Like if you've got the Quest Pro and you've got the color cameras, it's still really off-putting looking through like those cameras into the real world. And she kind of scared me off this idea that the VR headsets are going to be able to make you see a good view anytime soon of your surroundings.
Interesting. So she's not a mixed fan. She wants the view through, the true AR.
Oh yeah, she's AR all the way.
Yeah. I think people who can think about such things realize just the power that AR is gonna bring. It's insane amounts of power. I mean, everything changes with AR. Everything in our world that we've become accustomed to. The screens that we've essentially are ubiquitous, and we hold them with us, and we sit on our sofas and watch them, and they're at the airports, and they're, and they advertise to us. And I mean, those just go away when there's true AR, because it's all controlled and managed virtually, which is just crazy. When you think about it.
I'm gonna watch your body language again. Do you guys have Apple devices? Are you gonna get Myst up and running on Apple?
Well, if we could, we sure as heck couldn't say if we were. So
that's why I'm looking at the body language. I have to throw it out.
We've had a long, great relationship with Apple, but also Apple does everything very different. They they work on their own time frame and do things the way they want. But I love their attention to detail. So it'll be interesting to see what they can and will do.
It's funny to think about the way Myst opens up. You talked about that earlier, Rand, that satisfaction you get. Like, that's a good puzzle when you feel good after, but it's like Myst is so good in giving you a reward, seeing something new afterwards.
So much of these computer game stuff is the same as any other kind of entertainment, where it's about this right balance of frustration and relief. You know, I mean, movies are that way, good books are that way, even music is that way. You know, it's just so if we do our job right, we frustrate you just enough, and we give you little hints, give you a sense of you achieving it instead of the movie just revealing it, you know, or a book just revealing it. It feels like you're part of that relief, that you figured it out, you know, if we do it right, which is sometimes, but not always. I watch good episodic TV and feel the same way about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just keep things secret until it's... We have a lot of things that tug at us in our worlds, because we're trying to make these worlds, and the more we do it, you know, more we try to make it this way. Riven was probably the ultimate, but or at least a learning experience. Like, try to make the world feel real. Like, why is this thing here? Why is this puzzle here? It's not just arbitrary. It's not just a mini golf hole. There's a story behind it. Can we fit that as part of the world and still make it look cool and still make it part of that whole frustration and relief? And that's difficult, because we don't just create a gameplay mechanism and then, you know, build from it. We have to make levels. We have to, you know, essentially hand build everything to fit. And it's what we do well, but it's also the part that takes us a little longer and makes this hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's the curse of the way that we design stuff. It's like, oh, we have to make this make sense. We can't. And,
That's right.
well, oftentimes we get trapped in our own the success of that, right? Because we add something and we tell ourselves like, oh, this will be a cool puzzle. And you get it in there and you do all the work, and then you step back from it and you're like, okay, this is an awesome puzzle. Crap, how do we make this make sense now? Because we sort of lost the plot a little bit as we were developing it, and we got to backfill holes, and it's I feel like that's a fact of every puzzle we design is, oh no, is that
was
does it make sense, and have we given them enough information that we don't feel it's an unfair puzzle?
That whole idea of building worlds, I mean, I think that's why what we do is so fulfilling. I read Dune early on, and my mind was blown at the level of world building, you know, or Lord of the Rings. You know, there's stuff here that doesn't even have to be here. It's just part of a history that makes this feel real. That's the stuff that's so motivating, and you know, even today, I mean, this morning I was in design stuff that we were doing intricate details of stuff that's like, well, why? No, this doesn't make sense, of something we had done. It's like, no, this wouldn't work. It wouldn't work right. It feels like we're trying to evolve something that, if it was real, would have taken hundreds of years, or, you know, 1,000 years, but we have to do it in a few weeks. And so we come back and look at it again and again and go, okay, yeah, they wouldn't have done this. This would have evolved to this because this, you know, and that's really fun. I mean, it's motivating, and I don't know that everybody will see all that detail, but it makes the world feel viable and like it's not just a game, which is fun. Yeah. My battery on my Quest 1 tells me it's getting low.
We better hurry.
Just FYI.
Do you feel any kind of satisfaction with how many people you've startled over the years in this room?
A lot of satisfaction, yes.
Try to get to the overlook of the whole island before Rand's battery dies.
Or his battery dies.
Well, my battery dies. We're on a mission now.
Ooh, looking good.
There it is.
We go.
Nice shot.
Yay.
All right,
This
Well,
one.
there's a lot of targets on this one.
You just gotta slam it.
Oh my gosh. If my battery dies, it's been fun playing with you guys.
Calling the Riven remake Rand's Revenge. Myst 2, Rand's Revenge.
We're excited, without saying anything new about it, we're very excited about Riven. Very excited about it.
Yeah, super.
Let's just say we're getting pretty good at VR.
I love the story of Cloudhead. Do you guys know the people at Cloudhead?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And they went out and did the gallery, and they were obviously so inspired by Myst in the creation of that. And I never got past the beach. I couldn't do it in their game. And then they made Pistol Whip, which I'm addicted to from 3 minutes into it. I'm going to be playing this all the time. And it's amazing to see this evolution.
So badly playing that game. So much like squatting. Oh yeah, so much squatting. Oh gosh.
Yeah, we're friends with some of the folks over there. I chat on and off with Denny, one of the head dudes over there from time to time, and boy, they were like that. The gallery was one of the very first full games for VR, if I remember correctly. They were real early out of the gate. So seeing them hit this much success with Pistol Whip is fantastic.
My battery lasted. How do you like that?
You did it, and you got a birdie too on the hardest hole.
Birdied the last hole.
That's
I have
awesome.
a feeling I'm gonna come in last on this. I was distracted by the questions. That's what it was.
Yeah,
I don't know who's more distracted, me trying to come up with them or you trying to answer them. I love the view here. It's incredible over the island. And how did we do? Oh, wow. Plus 21.
Not great, but
Hannah
we
crushed
tried.
us, though. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, nice one.
And crushed.
Good.
Nice one, Hannah.
We were all pretty close.
Good job,
That's
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
not
were pretty
bad at all.
close.
We all did pretty good there. Take it. It's fun seeing it from up here. I mean, with that view at night, it's a really sweet kind of feel to it. They did a great job.
Big props to the Mighty Coconut team for doing this. They absolutely
Yeah, seriously.
knocked it out of the park.
Yep. And what a fun thing for us. I'll say it again. What a fun thing to us to revisit our island, but in a different light where we actually can enjoy it and have fun with it and be surprised by it. Like, how cool is that?